Most men think attraction is about what they do. But what if the truth is, it's about what they make her feel, and most men are getting it completely wrong. Emotional connection matters more than technique, and most people don't realize just how deeply this shapes attraction. It's easy to believe that skill, performance, or doing things the right way is what creates a powerful experience. But in reality, technique without connection feels empty. It may look good on the surface, but it doesn't leave a lasting impression. When there's real emotional connection, everything changes. The atmosphere shifts. There's a sense of comfort, trust, and openness that allows both people to relax and actually enjoy the moment instead of analyzing it. A woman isn't sitting there, mentally checking boxes or judging every move. You've already moved past that stage. She's present, engaged, and responding naturally because she feels safe and understood. That sense of being understood is incredibly powerful. It's not about reading her mind perfectly, but about paying attention, her energy, her reactions, her subtle signals. When you're tuned in like that, your actions become more meaningful because they're based on her, not on some rehearsed idea of what you think should happen. That's what separates someone who is simply going through the motions from someone who creates a real experience. Without emotional connection, even the most technically perfect approach can feel robotic. It can feel distant, almost like there's a barrier between two people. And that barrier kills attraction. People want to feel something genuine. They want to feel like the moment is shared, not performed. Connection also builds anticipation. When there's emotional chemistry, even small moments carry weight. A glance, a pause, a shift in tone, these things start to matter. They create tension in the best way possible. It's no longer about rushing to the next step, but about enjoying the process as it unfolds naturally. Another important part of emotional connection is authenticity. When you're trying too hard to get it right, you lose that. You become focused on yourself instead of the interaction. But when you're genuine, when you allow yourself to be present without overthinking, you become more attractive without even trying. That authenticity invites her to do the same. Confidence also feels different when it's rooted in connection. It's not forced or performative. It's calm, steady, and reassuring. It shows that you're comfortable in the moment and not dependent on an outcome. That kind of energy makes it easier for her to relax and engage fully, which deepens the connection even more. At the end of the day, technique can enhance a moment, but it can't create one. Emotional connection is what gives everything meaning. It's what turns something ordinary into something memorable. And when that connection is strong, you don't have to worry so much about what to do next, because the moment itself will guide you. Confidence creates attraction, not overthinking, and this is where most people quietly sabotage themselves without even realizing it. They get stuck in their own heads, analyzing every word, every move, every possible outcome. Instead of being present, they're running a mental script, constantly asking, "Is this right? Should I do something else? What if I mess this up?" And in that moment, the connection starts to fade. Attraction doesn't grow in hesitation. It grows in certainty. Confidence isn't about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about being comfortable with yourself regardless of what happens. When you're confident, you don't need every moment to go exactly as planned. You don't panic over small missteps. You stay grounded, relaxed, and in control of your energy. That stability is what people feel, and it's incredibly attractive. Overthinking, on the other hand, creates tension. Not the good kind, but the kind that feels awkward and forced. When you're overthinking, your attention shifts inward. You're no longer focused on the interaction, you're focused on yourself. That disconnect is noticeable. Your responses become delayed, your body language stiff, your energy uncertain. And uncertainty kills attraction faster than almost anything else. Confidence simplifies everything. It allows you to trust your instincts instead of questioning them. You say what feels natural, you act in the moment, and you adjust based on real feedback instead of imagined fears. That creates a smooth, effortless flow that draws people in. There's also a quiet authority in confidence. It doesn't need to be loud or dominant. In fact, the most attractive kind of confidence is calm and composed. It's the kind that doesn't seek approval or validation. When you're not constantly looking for reassurance, it signals that you value yourself, and that changes how others see you. One of the biggest differences between confidence and overthinking is how each one handles uncertainty. Overthinking tries to eliminate it. It wants guarantees, perfect timing, perfect words. But those things don't exist. Confidence accepts uncertainty and moves forward anyway. It understands that not every moment will be perfect, and that's okay. This mindset also makes you more adaptable. When you're not locked into a rigid plan, you can respond naturally to whatever happens. If something doesn't go as expected, you don't freeze or spiral into self-doubt. You adjust, you stay present, and you keep the energy flowing. That adaptability is magnetic because it feels real. Another key element is decisiveness. Confident people make choices and stand by them. They don't second guess every action. That doesn't mean they're always right. It means they're comfortable taking action without needing constant reassurance. That decisiveness creates a sense of direction, which naturally draws others in. At its core, confidence is about trust in yourself, your instincts, and your ability to handle whatever comes next. Overthinking is the opposite. It's rooted in fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. And here's the truth: people aren't attracted to perfection. They're attracted to certainty, presence, and authenticity. When you stop overanalyzing and start trusting yourself, everything shifts. Your energy becomes lighter, your interactions smoother, and your presence more compelling without you having to force anything at all. Presence beats performance every time, and this is one of the most overlooked truths when it comes to attraction and connection. So many people think they need to impress, entertain, or prove their value in every moment. They believe that if they say the perfect thing or act in the perfect way, they'll win someone over. But the reality is, performance creates distance, while presence creates connection. When you're performing, you're not really there. Your mind is focused on how you're coming across, how you're being perceived, and whether you're doing enough. You're managing an image instead of experiencing the moment. And even if the performance looks good on the surface, it often feels hollow underneath. People can sense when something isn't fully genuine. Presence, on the other hand, is simple but powerful. It's about being fully engaged in the moment without trying to control it. You're not thinking 3 steps ahead. You're not replaying what just happened. You're right there, paying attention, listening, observing, and responding naturally. That kind of attention is rare, and because it's rare, it's incredibly attractive. When someone feels your presence, they feel seen. Not judged, not analyzed, just seen. And that creates a level of comfort that performance can never achieve. It allows them to relax, to open up, and to be more authentic themselves. Instead of trying to keep up with your act, they start connecting with you as a real person. Performance often comes from a place of pressure. The pressure to be interesting, to be impressive, to be liked. But that pressure creates tension. It makes interactions feel forced, like something has to happen instead of something naturally unfolding. Presence removes that pressure. It allows things to develop at their own pace without forcing outcomes. Another key difference is that performance is predictable, while presence is dynamic. When you're performing, you rely on rehearsed patterns, lines, behaviors, or strategies you think will work. But real connection doesn't follow a script. It's fluid, changing from moment to moment. Presence allows you to adapt to that flow instead of trying to control it. There's also a certain confidence in presence. It shows that you're comfortable enough to just be without needing to prove anything. You're not chasing validation or trying to impress. That calm self-assurance is far more attractive than any rehearsed performance. It signals that you value yourself and that you don't need external approval to feel secure. Presence also deepens emotional impact. When you're fully engaged, even small moments become meaningful. A simple conversation feels richer. A pause feels intentional instead of awkward. Your energy becomes more grounded, and that grounding has a powerful effect on the other person. In contrast, performance often leads to burnout. It's exhausting to constantly maintain an image or try to meet an imagined standard. Presence is effortless. It doesn't require you to be anyone other than yourself. At the end of the day, people don't connect with perfection, they connect with authenticity. And authenticity can't exist when you're performing. It only exists when you're present. When you let go of the need to impress and simply show up fully, you create something real, and that's what truly draws people in. Understanding her psychology changes everything, because once you begin to see what truly drives her emotions, your entire approach shifts from guessing to knowing. Most people operate on assumptions. They think attraction is about surface level actions, what to say, how to act, what moves to make. But beneath all of that is something far more powerful: how she thinks, how she feels, and how she interprets your behavior. When you understand her psychology, you stop reacting blindly. You start recognizing patterns. You notice what makes her open up, what makes her pull back, and what creates emotional engagement. Instead of forcing moments, you begin to flow with them. That's where real connection starts to build. One of the most important things to realize is that emotions lead, not logic. A woman may logically understand something, but what truly shapes her response is how she feels in that moment. If she feels comfortable, intrigued, and emotionally safe, she leans in. If she feels uncertain, pressured, or disconnected, she withdraws, no matter how right your actions might seem on paper. This is why awareness matters more than effort. You don't need to do more, you need to notice more. Pay attention to subtle shifts in her tone, her body language, her level of engagement. These signals tell you everything you need to know, but only if you're present enough to catch them. When you respond to those signals naturally, instead of sticking to a fixed idea, your interactions become smoother and more authentic. Another key aspect of psychology is the need to feel understood. It's not about agreeing with everything she says, it's about showing that you get where she's coming from. When she feels understood, her guard drops. She becomes more open, more expressive, and more comfortable being herself around you. That emotional safety is a foundation for deeper attraction. There's also a strong connection between psychology and emotional pacing. Rushing things often creates resistance, not because she isn't interested, but because the emotional rhythm feels off. Understanding her psychology helps you match that rhythm. You learn when to move forward, when to pause, and when to simply let the moment breathe. That balance creates a natural sense of progression instead of pressure. Confidence also becomes more refined when it's backed by understanding. Instead of acting boldly just for the sake of it, your actions become intentional. You're not trying to impress, you're responding appropriately to the situation. That kind of grounded behavior feels far more genuine and attractive. Importantly, understanding her psychology isn't about manipulation, it's about connection. It's about creating an environment where both people feel comfortable, respected, and engaged. When your focus shifts from, how do I get a reaction, to how can I understand her better, everything becomes more real. At the end of the day, attraction isn't random. It follows emotional patterns. And when you start to understand those patterns, you stop feeling lost or unsure. You become more aware, more adaptable, and more in tune with the moment. That's why understanding her psychology changes everything, not because it gives you control, but because it gives you clarity. Small shifts can create powerful desire, and most people underestimate just how impactful the little things really are. They think attraction comes from big, dramatic moves or major changes, when in reality, it's often the subtle adjustments that make the biggest difference. A slight change in tone, a pause at the right moment, a deeper level of attention, these are the details that transform an ordinary interaction into something memorable. Desire isn't always triggered by intensity, it's often built through nuance. When everything is obvious and predictable, the emotional experience feels flat. But when there's a bit of mystery, a bit of variation, something slightly unexpected, that's when curiosity starts to grow. And curiosity is a powerful driver of attraction. One small shift that makes a huge impact is slowing down. Most people rush, thinking they need to keep momentum at all times. But when you slow your pace, whether it's in how you speak, how you respond, or how you move, you create space. That space allows anticipation to build. It gives the other person time to feel, not just react. And that feeling is what deepens the experience. Another subtle but powerful shift is in attention. Giving someone your full, undivided attention, even for a short moment, can feel incredibly intense. In a world full of distractions, that level of focus stands out. It signals that the moment matters, that they matter, and that alone can create a strong emotional response. Tone and energy also play a significant role. You don't always need to change what you say. Sometimes changing how you say it is enough. A softer tone can create intimacy, while a slightly playful one can create excitement. These small adjustments influence how your words are received and felt, often more than the words themselves. There's also power in restraint. Not always saying everything, not always reacting immediately, not always filling every silence. These small acts of control create tension, the kind that draws people in rather than pushing them away. When everything is given too easily, there's nothing left to discover. But when there's a balance between expression and restraint, desire has room to grow. Body language is another area where small shifts matter. Simple things like maintaining eye contact a little longer, relaxing your posture, or subtly mirroring the other person's energy can create a sense of connection without a single word being spoken. These signals operate on a subconscious level, but they have a strong emotional effect. What makes these small shifts so powerful is that they feel natural, not forced. They don't come across as an attempt to impress, they come across as awareness and intention. And that authenticity is what makes them effective. The key is consistency. One small shift might spark interest, but repeated over time, these subtle changes build a pattern. That pattern shapes how the other person feels around you. It creates a unique emotional experience, one that stands out from the usual, predictable interactions most people are used to. In the end, desire isn't about doing more, it's about doing things differently, even in the smallest ways. When you become aware of these subtle shifts and start applying them naturally, you'll notice that the response you get changes, not because you forced it, but because you created something that feels real, engaging, and impossible to ignore. There's a silent gap between what men think women want and what women actually crave. And that gap? It's where attraction either grows or completely dies. Most men approach intimacy like it's a performance. They think it's about doing more, trying harder, or copying something they've seen somewhere else. But what they don't realize is this attraction isn't built on effort alone. It's built on awareness. A woman doesn't respond to you because you're doing everything right. She responds because of how you make her feel in the moment. And that feeling doesn't come from complexity, it comes from presence. When you're fully there, not distracted, not overthinking, not trying to impress, that's when the shift happens. That's when she starts leaning in, not because you forced it, but because she feels something real. The biggest mistake men make is rushing. Rushing the moment, rushing the connection, rushing the energy. But attraction doesn't grow under pressure, it grows in space, in tension, in anticipation. When you slow down, when you actually pay attention, when you respond instead of react, everything changes. She feels seen. And when a woman feels seen, she opens up in a way most men never experience. Confidence also plays a bigger role than most realize. Not loud confidence, not arrogance, but calm, grounded certainty, the kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that doesn't ask, is this okay, every second. That energy is magnetic. And here's the truth most men never hear. It's not about trying new things randomly. It's about understanding what creates emotional and psychological connection. When that's there, everything else naturally becomes better. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be someone else. But you do need to be aware, intentional, and present. Because in the end, what she remembers isn't what you did, it's how you made her feel.